Wow. You know, I forget. I kind of got lost in what they were saying. You know, it's insane to see that. It really is. Because you forget, dude was a human. He was just like a flesh and blood man like me and you. See him laughing, sitting there having a jolly time. If you didn't know who he was, you would have never thought he was capable of such things, of such evil, such atrocities. And that's what people need to remember too. Everybody's capable. Everybody's capable. Hey, what's going on, all you beautiful souls out there? I am back with another reaction video. And before you guys skip this intro, actually, no, this is a, wait. No. It doesn't matter because I know these are just all the Sabaton fans who just love history, who probably enjoy me learning new stuff. But like I said, Sabaton, World War II, I'm not an expert at the stuff, but I do know a little some. The nuclear attack song, atomic bombings. I did know enough to where I only wrote a couple things, so I don't know how much of this I'm going to have to write down. But what was I gonna say? Oh yeah. My intro's all off because usually I'll just say the same stuff in every video, depending on the artist, depending on who I'm reacting to. Oh, that's what I wanted to say. Appreciate my support on the Patreon. I really do appreciate all my clouds out there who are holding down my channel. I really do appreciate it. Really do appreciate all the support you guys are sending my way. And if you guys want to help support the channel, link is down below. But anyways, now I'm gonna stop it. We're gonna go ahead and go to Sabaton history, baby. Oh wait, what? Oh, all these channels open. Oh, you guys missed Judas Priest. That's a Patreon exclusive. So you already know what time it is. School is back in session. I don't know how many notes I'm gonna have to take because, like I said, World War II. It's only my most interested subject that I really like to try to learn as much from, because it's, like I said, it's really mind-boggling how one guy can turn a group of people against another group of people. Like, I don't think he even convinced them. There's got to be a hatred there. There had to have been something there, because you can't, in like 10-15 years, it's really hard to do what he was able to do from just being charismatic. It really is. I mean, you could be charismatic as hell. There's no way you could teach people 1900s, what was it, 1920 some or 1930 something, when he was getting his rise to power and such. Like, there had to have been a base of something already stirring for you to just invoke it, because at that time of those years, there's like human rights. Like, it was more known around the world that you can't do certain things to people. So the fact that that was able to happen, it's still mind-boggling. I really want to get into the psyche of these kind of people, but sadly, a lot of them, they're already old or dead already, so you can't really talk to them, say, hey, were you around during the Hitler regime? What was he saying? What did you feel about it? That's what it sucks. Everybody dies every day, and every time somebody dies, a whole world dies with them. All the knowledge that they've been through. That's why one day, I don't know, one day, I'm talking about like maybe a year or two from now, once I have the money, once I'm stable, I actually want to create a new segment called Clouded Thoughts or Clouded Conversations, where I go out and I actually talk to maybe older generations, just asking about, like, you know, politics of the day, or maybe, you know, things that they remember in their childhood, or how life was like growing up compared to now, where they grew up, how is it compared to where they're living now, do they miss it back home, all those kind of things. And it works great in America because it's just a melting pot. There's all kinds of people here. So I can ask somebody who might be from Sweden or from Japan or Russia or Brazil. You know, we got those people here, all kinds of nationalities. And I'm really aiming at the older generations because, like I said, I really hate when someone passes away and their story is not told. Everybody's got a story. Everybody has a whole world. And once they pass out, once they check out, the whole world goes with them. And those conversations, I just like picking their brains. Anyways, I know I'm going off a tangent, but yeah, this is Hitler's rise of evil. And like I said, how much am I going to write down? I don't know. Let's just hop right on in. Jay, shut up. I know.
I'm Indy Nidell.
And I'm Joachim from Sabaton.
And this is Sabaton History.
Yeah, it is, baby.
Adolf Hitler's rise to power was as unlikely as his rule was catastrophic.
And our song Rise of Evil is quite unusual in the sense that it doesn't cover an armed conflict.
And he's going to tell you about the song, but first, I'm going to tell you the history. Now we're just getting started. We have the power, and we're not going to give it up again. With these prescient words, Adolf Hitler greeted his party members on February 5th, 1933, a few days after he was officially declared the new Chancellor of Germany. The National Socialists, his party, known also as the NSDAP, or the Nazi Party, is now the biggest party in the Reichstag, the parliament, with 33% of the seats. Now, the Communist Party has 16.9%. That means that the conservative center-right and liberal center-left parties, opposed to both the communists and the Nazis, as well as each other, don't have the majority needed to form a government. Instead, under leadership of a conservative and Catholic bloc, many of the mainstream MPs plan to simply control the ambitious Hitler when he is chancellor. But Hitler
Yeah, good luck with that.
was determined. His goal was to get nothing less than absolute power. He would destroy the parliamentary system, which he very much despised, and establish his...
Oh, they got turned on the background music. I'm getting lost in the music. I'm over here rocking to the beat. Such a good beat, man. Like I said, it's a good thing that the Third Reich did not hear this song, because they would have pushed even harder.
He would destroy the parliamentary system, which he very much despised, and establish his Führerdiktatur by any and all means necessary. But to rise above the others, Hitler had to win over the general public, large private interests, and the powerful elements of the government and the military first.
Wonder how deep he's gonna go into the depth of how he won the general public. That's the key. Everybody else, they're all like, it's easy to convince like politicians and such to go to war. Oh, they love it. They're waiting on the opportunity because that's big money for them. Setting out contracts, getting, making weapons and such. Oh, that's money in the bank for them. How did he convince the general public? And how was the general public already feeling at the time? How much did he really have to sway them that much? Did he put in a lot of work, or was it kind of like just a little bit of work? This is what I really want to know.
His first speech as the Chancellor of the Reich was a roundup of the topics he had unceasingly spoken about since the beginning of his political career in the pubs of Munich after the First World War. But Hitler had perfected the art of public speaking, and he really knew how to work a crowd and how to paint pictures in the minds of his listeners. He spoke of the years of Marxist influence that had ruined the German economy, how the Treaty of Versailles, dictated by the malevolent victors of the war, had left the once glorious German Empire fragmented and its people impoverished. And as the listeners grew emotional, Hitler promised that he would destroy Marxism with fire and sword and free Germany from the poisonous class struggle.
He tugged on the heartstrings. I tell you, man, people can get so gullible when you aim at their feelings.
Under his leadership, German society would find its way back to conservative Christian values and find renewed pride in its past. This turned non-Nazi tacit acceptance of Hitler into actual sympathy, especially from the right end of the political spectrum. However, while Hitler spoke of peace and prosperity to the public, he shifted to a bellicose, threatening, and more sinister tone in more private conversations.
Wow. I forget. I kind of got lost in what they were saying. It's insane to see that. It really is. Because you forget, dude was a human. He was just like a flesh and blood man like me and you. See him laughing, sitting there having a jolly time. If you didn't know who he was, you would have never thought he was capable of such things, of such evil, such atrocities. And that's what people need to remember too. Everybody's capable. Everybody's capable of doing like the worst things of humanity. All it takes is that seed. All it takes is just a switch to go off. Or maybe the right circumstances, the right scenarios, to turn a man into a monster. That was scary, seeing him. He's just a regular guy.
Prosperity to the public, he shifted to a bellicose, threatening, and more sinister tone in more private conversations. Just a few days after becoming chancellor, he met with the highest generals of the Reichswehr, Germany's handicapped army. Germany's future, Hitler insisted, is depending on the Wehrmacht and the Wehrmacht alone. Pacifism was unworthy of Germany's heritage, and according to Hitler's social Darwinistic views, Germany had to fight its way back to great power status. Getting back lost colonies was one idea, but conquering Lebensraum in Europe's east and pursuing a ruthless Germanization was preferable to Hitler and the Nazis. Either way, to be in a position to make demands of the world, Germany's military had to undergo a massive buildup, despite the limitations imposed by the Versailles Treaty. This was exactly what those generals most wanted to hear. A strong military would consequently elevate their own positions in German society.
Egos. Let's see, tug at the heartstrings of the general public and stroke the egos of people in power.
Nation in despair, weakened by war defeated, lost of pride in the sight, a former prisoner with a vision.
I kind of realize right now, the music, I know it's not the same, the beat's not the same or similar, but this got a same dark undertone as I feel like Sabaton's Ruina Imperi. It was kind of like a dark, the music was kind of solemn, but in this one the lyrics don't match the melody really. Because I think the melody on this one's kind of like a dark solemn, but the lyrics is more of just him, you know, rising to power. So it's not really saddened.
Former prisoner with a vision or delusion. Rise to power in the Reich.
As the next step, Hitler met with another powerful group, the industrials. Many shareholders of the big companies, such as IG Farben or Krupp, were initially distrustful of Hitler and his party, especially the word socialist in National Socialist Party. That had a lot of them worried that radical economic changes that would negatively affect them were on the horizon. Today, in 2019, there is still a debate among historians as to how socialists, the National Socialists, actually were. In terms of social policy, they were on the extreme reactionary right. Opinions vary as to their economic policy, and they likely always will. But one thing was pretty certain about the party back then. The NSDAP was broke. Election campaigns are expensive, and the lavish style of the Nazis with all the uniforms, banners, and parades was a real drain on funds.
Yeah, the Nazis, they really outperformed on image and how they looked, presented themselves. Crisp uniforms, massive show of force. I'm sure that cost some money. I don't know how much they spent draining their profits just doing that alone.
Nazis with all the uniforms, banners, and parades was a real drain on funds. Hitler convinced the industrials, though, that socialist was a rather flexible term and that their powerful position would go untouched under his rule. Instead, there would be a lot of new contracts for them from the armament industry. Again, Hitler's speaking skills transformed suspicious listeners to excited followers. And
they just wanted profits. Oh, God, people. Is money really worth it? Is it really? Apparently it was. They went for it.
By the end of the meeting, the NSDAP coffers were filled with 3 million Reichsmarks. You got to spend money to make money, right? Now, with the support of both the military and industry, Hitler turned to his internal enemies. He made fellow Nazi Hermann Goering, famous World War I fighter pilot, and in 1933 president of the Reichstag and minister without portfolio, Reichskommissar of the Prussian Department of the Interior, and minister president of Prussia.
Time, man, increase that ego. That's all you need to do. Oh my God, he played so many people like a fiddle.
Which meant nothing less than that Goering now commanded both the police and the administration of the Prussian state. And he immediately purged both institutions of enemies of the Nazis and formed the Gestapo, the secret police. The Nazi paramilitary organizations SS, SA, and Stahlhelm now ran rampant, targeting their enemies and settling scores both old and new. Their victims were mostly communists and social democrats at this point. But other critics of the Nazis fell prey to the violent mob or to corrupt police officers. They busted up election meetings. They jumped and arrested people on the streets or dragged them out of their homes at night. In the brown barracks, the enemies of the Nazis were brutally beaten, tortured, and often outright killed without consequence for the murderers. It was a brutal terror that swept the Prussian state, but was in fact only an omen of what was to come for the rest of the country once the Nazis got control of the entire government system. Officially, this was explained by Hitler as preventing the imminent communist revolution. That actually was believed by large parts of the public because the danger of the communist threat, the Red Scare, had been hyped by politicians across the spectrum since World War I. The Reichstag fire, the burning of the German parliament building on February 27th, was just another catalyst to further escalate the violence. To this day, there are those who believe that the Nazis were actually behind the attack on the Reichstag, although there is no direct evidence of this. And in his diaries, Joseph Goebbels, Nazi propagandist, and in February 1930,
Minister of Propaganda? Minister of Propaganda, that was his title. Oh my God. Oh my God. How to tell that the government lies to you without telling you that the government straight up lies to you? They have a minister of propaganda.
33, soon to be Minister of Propaganda, gives no hints about it.
Actually, does everybody have a minister of propaganda? Does America have one of those? In the United States, propaganda is spread by both government and non-government entities. Throughout its history to the present day, the United States government has issued various forms of propaganda to both domestic and international audiences. The U.S. government has instituted various domestic propaganda bans throughout its history. However, some commentators question the extent to which these bans are respected. Well, So then, I mean, we all know that all countries have propaganda, especially America. I mean, goddamn, I ain't got to tell you all that. But do they actually have a arm in the government that's titled that? You know, I wonder.
But the lone Dutch communist who was captured at the scene gave Hitler the chance to push the first of many emergency laws through Parliament. As a response to the attack, the basic rights of freedom of speech, freedom of assembly, and freedom of the press were immediately suspended, as was the power of the individual German states. Suspended.
I stopped paying for YouTube Premium.
As was the power of the individual German states.
Rebuilding an army, make the nation proud. Disregarding the treaty, secret plans for Lebensraum. Stop the Holocaust, the Reich will rise.
The terror now swept nationwide.
I'm so scared to bump that song in my car. You know, it's crazy how they got all these jackass. How they got all those people to just fall in line. I would think because they said, I think that's what I wrote down too. It's crazy how the government pretty much went after people during the daytime and rounded up people that were opposing the Nazi party. Wouldn't that make their own citizens fearful of like being able to speak out? Like I would understand if you're for Hitler out of fear of like him doing something to you, you know, of some kind of like counterattack for speaking up against the Nazi party. But like showing up to the rallies and smiling and laughing and showing the sign, like the hand signs and all that, like some of them weren't fearful. They just straight up like rooted for the guy. I know they said earlier that they tugged on the heartstrings that made them more sympathetic. But damn, after that happened, after you've seen people that you know getting rounded up just because they're opposing him, and I'm also kind of a little caught up in the comment section. That's another thing, guys. I'm really trying to catch up with the comment section. But somebody also had said, I think one of the leaders of like I think the brown shirts was actually gay, and a lot of people that were also for them were gay. And I think he wanted to overtake the Wehrmacht and replace it with there's another word. It's a German word. It's a long word, but he wanted to replace that. And I guess Hitler wanted to avoid like maybe like a civil war. So they ended up killing all those guys too. And I guess that guy that was the leader of the brown shirts, he had the choice of either getting shot by the officers or shot by, I forgot what it was. And he ended up asking to be shot by Hitler himself. Like he wanted to look dude straight in the eye because I guess they were friends. And I guess Hitler denied it and he was shot by an officer instead. But that's crazy how citizens can see that happening and still be for the guy. And not, like I said, you would think out of fear they're going to go for him. But it doesn't look like it. They look like they're happy.
Regarding the treaty, secret plans for Lebensraum. Stop the Holocaust, the Reich will rise.
The terror now swept nationwide as the Gleichschaltung, the co-option of the interior ministries under Nazi rule, took effect under these emergency laws. Bit by bit, the positions in the governments of German cities and states were taken over by Nazi party members. All police and security forces were by mid-1934 under direct control of the SS, Schutzstaffel, and its leader, Heinrich Himmler. Himmler appoints Theodor Eicke to head up the Dachau camp, and Eicke proceeds to formalize what had been a spontaneously created concentration camp system. An atmosphere of violence and fear gripped every German city in those days, and everyone knew that people could simply disappear and find themselves in the laboratory of violence. That's what the German historian Volker Ulrich called Dachau in those days.
How can people be okay with that, man? Like I said, if it's so wide known.
Among those people who disappeared were Jews, the main villains in Hitler's worldview. Now, the takeover by Hitler triggered some rather negative reactions abroad. So the Nazis claim, with no evidence, that this is because Jews are spreading false stories of atrocities committed in Germany. In retaliation for the fictional crimes, on April 1st, 1933, the Nazis called for a nationwide boycott of Jewish stores, doctors, and lawyers. Although the boycott gains little traction and only really lasts for a day, Jews were now the official enemy of the state, and the legal discrimination against Jews was soon followed by physical violence.
Just like that. Throw a thing out there, make everyone believe it, and not, just like that, the citizens turn.
This was very unpopular with large parts of the general public, but there was no substantial resistance among the people either. Just apathy. The terror had already done its work. And
oh, thank you for the apathy.
the people either. Just apathy. The terror had already done its work.
Sorry guys, gotta plug in my computer here. Make sure it doesn't die on me. That is crazy. Apathy. That is crazy. How can you not care? How can you not care?
Among the people either. Just apathy. The terror
That's insane.
had already done its work, and the people were terrified. And the violence and discrimination against the Jews would only increase year by year until the pogroms of Kristallnacht of 1938, when Jews were killed or sent to camps by the thousands, their synagogues burned, their homes, prayer rooms, and graveyards destroyed. Beginning November 1938, they are incarcerated simply for being Jews. Back again in 1933, on May 1st, the National Socialist Party celebrated the Tag der Arbeit, Labor Day, as an official holiday with huge parades and tens of thousands of workers listening to Hitler's speeches on the radio. Hitler had promised to reduce the high unemployment rate by gigantic construction projects like the Autobahn. Fairly short-term solution, sure, but the idea worked, and the traditional left-leaning workers put their trust in Hitler. The next day, the last real threat to Nazi rule.
Yeah, because you gotta remember, because of the Treaty of Versailles, Germany was going Versailles. I don't even know how to say that. Versailles, Treaty of Versailles. You know, the country got boned, so they're struggling monetarily wise. And I know that's another huge reason why Hitler decided to go after the Jewish people, because they had a lot of money, all that purse. So it was beneficial for him to blame somebody for the troubles, and by blaming them, he can get rid of them and then take all their riches. So it kind of makes sense that he would go for the working class by promising them jobs. So tugging at the heartstrings again. They're hurting monetarily. He's promising them a way out.
Put their trust in Hitler. The next day, the last real threat to Nazi rule that could have united large parts of society, the unions, accepted their dissolution without a fight. Instead, the NSDAP had gained over 2 million members in just those 3 months of 1933 alone. And the Nazis had successfully destroyed any opposition to their rule. Everyone who thought Hitler controllable, everyone who thought the Nazis would never gain real power, and everyone who had hesitated to organize a coordinated resistance to the violence was now rendered powerless. The Nazis had taken control over every vital institution in Germany, and they were not about to give up that power. The swastika flew next to the national colors and would soon replace them as the flag of the German Reich. From the very beginning, Hitler had not only been determined to obtain absolute power, but he had also been completely open about his plans. His ambitions, declared in his book Mein Kampf, were by no means a secret, but nearly everybody had underestimated the ruthlessness of the former corporal from Austria. One party, one belief, one conviction, as Goebbels dictated. All other parties must be eradicated, and only the Nazi Party shall remain.
That is
How many single...
a lot of freaking commercials in this one, a lot of ads. Or maybe I'm just not used to having ads because usually I pay for it, but I got rid of that. Taking my money, that's crazy. But it's crazy how that was so extreme. He wanted to get rid of all the parties and everybody was okay with it. And also I was discussing it in one of the comments, how pretty much symbolism, how the swastika is pretty much related immediately to Hitler. And so is the, what did he say, tire or the tear symbol, the arrow that points up. And yet these are symbols that go way, way back, like ancient back. But now you see that, you instantly think Hitler. It's crazy how we give so much power to words and symbolism. We can give it the power, we can take it back. But once a symbol has gained so much negativity to it, There's no coming back from it. There's no way and ever probably in society where this symbol can ever come back in a positive light. I mean, I don't know. They could try, but I really doubt it.
One party, one belief, one conviction, as Goebbels dictated. All other parties must be eradicated, and only the Nazi Party shall remain. With Germany under his control, Hitler moved on to the next phase of his grand vision. His gaze wandered outwards, across the borders drawn in 1919. The Fuhrer looked towards Austria, Czechoslovakia, Poland, and Lithuania, to the countries that he saw as bearing the stigma of the Versailles Treaty, nations where a large ethnic German population lived under what Hitler considered foreign rule. Reversing or breaking that treaty was the next step in Hitler's plans, but that would take time to prepare. And until then, Hitler had to rely on bait and switch tactics. Dishonesty was his weapon of choice, to test the weakness and the gullibility of the other European powers. While the Wehrmacht was preparing and rebuilding under the swastika, the Führer's plans for the expansion of the Third Reich were set in motion. Hitler was growing ready to wager Germany's future in an all-or-nothing gamble. There would be no 1918 ever again. Germany would return to glory, or it would perish.
Rise of Evil, just by the nature of its subject matter, it's got to be a little bit controversial, right? I mean, has that ever come to haunt you?
Yeah, not really haunt us, but it is a controversial subject. It's about how Adolf Hitler came to power.
Other than playing it in Germany itself, I don't know where else it would be controversial at.
And let's just say the promoters in especially Germany weren't really looking forward to us performing that song live. However, I mean, as soon as we explained to them that, you know, we are a band that sings about military history, controversial subjects will arise from time to time. However, we don't ever do any kind of political or religious propaganda.
And they gotta express that. It's sad you gotta say that over and over again, especially in the European countries. Like, people know who Sabaton is over there. I'm not saying they don't know them in America either, but I'm pretty sure it's prominent in the European countries, definitely in Sweden and the Nordic areas as well. Sadly, they gotta keep on repeating that, hey, this is just for history purposes. We're not praising these guys. We're not praising these countries for whatever reasons, for this and that. We're not putting nobody down. We're just stating what happened. And it's sad that they gotta keep on repeating it.
And this song is simply about how Adolf Hitler came to power.
Well, it's not pro-Nazi, it's telling a story.
Absolutely. And we can't really tell a story about World War II without somehow including Adolf Hitler or the Nazis.
Yeah, you probably have to mention them once in a while.
Yeah, you have to mention the war.
No, but you have a lot of fans all over the world, and they're going to be of all different nations and all different backgrounds and all different political figures. You must have extremists from all kinds of stripes, including you must have some fans around there that are pro-Nazi. That's going to happen just by the number of fans you have.
Yeah, I mean, we've been accused of being almost everything because we cover so many subjects for so many different points of view.
That's how you know you're right down the middle. When somebody calls you a nationalist and a Nazi, and then they turn around and tell you the opposite, that's how you know you pissed off both sides. That's how you know you're walking the line down the middle, when everybody hates you.
Actually, I'm sorry to say this, but I don't actually give a shit what people who listen to us think.
Right.
I don't give a shit about the religion, the color of their skin, or anything. Everything is fine. But please, you know, consider it like genitals. It's okay to have, but don't whip them out in public.
Okay.
So
you hear that, Tommy?
So it's like all we care about is we don't want our music in any way used for political or religious reasons. We don't want to compromise on our neutrality. We want to be able to tell stories from all kinds of views, not by judging what's wrong or right, but simply because we find that way of telling the story the most interesting one. But we do know we're walking into minefields sometimes.
Sure.
That's a good example also with doing the whole Carolus Rex album, doing it in Swedish as well, because in many ways that is considered extreme right-wing in Sweden. We've been called communists as well because of doing the Songatero Dominatus about the final battle of Berlin.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And also when I said also in when he made the Carlos Rex album, that they, I guess the nationalists people, Nazi people, were promoting that, also hijacked it and took some of their songs and tried to promote national pride. Of course, that looks bad on Sabaton, but Sabaton cannot help that. You know, people can do whatever they want with the music. They prefer they don't, but they can't control it either.
You can keep accusing us of our political views, but the simple fact is
He don't give a shit.
We don't really have any message with our music other than to tell these stories.
I think that was very well said. Well, that is it for today for Sabaton History.
All right, everyone.
Somebody said in the comment section too that both Sabaton, I think they said Judas Priest, forgot which song they said. The marching at the end is the sound effect of, I guess, a lot of silverware in a box or something. So I'm trying to hear that.
Today for Sabaton History.
I can't really hear it, but it just sounds badass, that marching sound.
All right, everyone. Remember to support us on Patreon. Check out the other videos we got. They're good. And also, don't forget,
They're good. Biased. You're biased. You can't tell us it's good. Biased. So that was the rise of evil. And I gotta tell you, a lot of it, there's only a few things that really caught my eye. And really, I already disclosed what it was. Mainly how the Nazis would beat on their own citizens. At least cops, the police that went kind of rogue. And it's the thing that confused me, it's so widespread and nobody rose up against it anyways. Nobody said nothing. And like I said, maybe they could have not done it out of fear, which is perfectly reasonable considering what the party was capable of. But then you see him at rallies and people excited. So, and they just said right now how they had apathy for when they finally turned on the Jewish people and made it okay to kill them and made it okay to put them in camps. And the people were nonchalant about it. They didn't give a damn. That is wild. Yeah, that was pretty much all I wrote down really for that one. Yeah, it's kind of sad. I thought they were going to talk about the mustache because I know in the song I had mentioned it and I did some Google researching so I can edit it. And I guess it was, I think it was written down in a book or something, or somebody had claimed that that's what had happened. I was kind of hoping they go into that. Probably not a huge big deal because this is about the rise of evil, not the rise of the Hitler stash. But I mean, I kind of wanted to know because I know sometimes every once in a while, not only do they discuss history, they throw a little bit of fun facts in there. So I was interested in that as well. But I hope you guys enjoyed the reaction. I certainly enjoyed the video. Always enjoy seeing some Nazi history because I really like to see what the heck happened. That's the only way to prevent it from happening again. But people don't seem to understand that because people are idiots. And I'm not going to get into it because it's just tiring. It's like beating a dead horse. Or yeah, if I can use that phrase. Hope you guys stay safe out there. Stay blessed. Tell someone you love them while you still can. And of course, I will catch you guys in the next one.